to Athletics LLC with Lamar, Lucious, Big League Chew, and my man Clyde. You're about to be schooled in all things track and field. This is experience. Yes, sir. We are talking past, present, future. Y'all listen up. Let's go.
Happy Athletics LLC Day, everyone. We're here. Man, we're here. All right. Gentlemen. Clyde, how are you tonight?
Barely awake, but I'm sure the panel will change that up in a second.
Right. We'll give you some spice. Oh, goodness. Sir Lucious, how are you tonight, sir?
I am rolling. Some things never change.
The sun will always come up.
Yes, it is.
Governor, you, sir, how are you?
You know, when you're debating how many layers is enough, that's where I'm at right now.
Like Texas.
Ooh,
In Texas.
I hear you. I hear you on that one.
Exactly. I was
Last
contemplating whether to add the headgear to it. I had my beanie. I was ready to do it, and I was like, okay, let me just. I'm okay.
You could
Let's
always
get this
book a flight to Cancun.
Exactly, right?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Lamar, Malcolm Martin. Huffins, how are you? Excuse
Wow,
me.
just yawned all through my title.
I know that was a strong one. Sorry.
Well, me and the blue raspberry Sour Patch Kids are doing good tonight.
Oh my God.
Yummy.
Just say no. Just say no.
I mean, look, it was very entertaining to wake up this morning in Texas and see the 9-year-old outside in full winter gear like it was February 3rd in Indiana. Like he was unfazed.
Awesome.
So I figured if he's unfazed, I'm going to be unfazed indoors with the warm blanket as well.
You knock on the window. You okay up there?
I waved. You good?
Oh my gosh. All right, before someone calls CPS, let's recap that madness of NFL playoffs. Playoffs. WTF. That's my lob. Y'all take it because I'm still too a little bitter to talk about it. So
Well, the beige guy is Birdman ham rubbing for some ungodly reason. Please speak first.
I just want to know, not necessarily from y'all, but from the world, are we now officially done with the Chiefs are a dynasty? It's over now, right? It's dead, right?
I find it fascinating that you like to ask people questions they can't hear you nor answer you. So
Fascinating.
It's fascinating.
Oh, they hear me.
But
I get text messages.
But at the end of the day, I think we should look and focus on the fact that there were not, like, every game during the playoffs has been phenomenal, and I hope the Super Bowl ends up being the same way. Overtime games, the last minute kicks, and fascinating plays are just everywhere. So I think if you look, let's start with the San Francisco Rams game. I mean, for everything you looked at in the first half, you think San Francisco's going to get this done, and the Rams come out and they find a way. Same thing in the Chiefs-Bengals game. The Chiefs look like they're gonna romp to a victory, and the Bengals turned it around. So I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl. I think watching the NFL playoffs this year, I've watched it more than I have, and I'm glad I didn't miss the games because they were all very exciting nail biters that people will be talking about for years.
I agree. From the divisional round on, the wild card weekend was kind of whack, but from the divisional round on, it's been absolutely phenomenal. And in all seriousness, like for me, I have with the news of Brady retiring, right? I have to find my new quarterback that I'm gonna, ride with in the future. And I ain't made a decision yet, but damn it, I love Joe Burrow. Like, everything about that dude is just fun to watch. I love his attitude. I love, the raw, real answers he gives to the media. He's not afraid. He don't care. The best line was, I'm tired of the underdog narrative. We're here to make noise. Like, that's things that I can root for, right? So, I'm not a Bengals fan or anything. I don't care about the team, but I root for players. I root for coaches, and I really have been thoroughly impressed with Joe Burrow, and I think he's one of the main stories going forward. And
I mean, you're not going to root for Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert and that crew.
Love Justin Herbert. I'm a huge Justin Herbert fan. Lamar Jackson, I like him. I like him.
No, I was just asking because those are the guys that you were tooting their horns a couple of weeks ago.
And they're phenomenal. They're very, very talented players, phenomenal athletes. They will probably end up with equal amount of Super Bowls as Patrick Mahomes has, and we good.
Boy. So I guess I'm gonna attempt to stay calm, but I'll just ask you this one particular question. Is there something about Patrick Mahomes in particular you don't like? Because you seem, I'm going to say, to be going out of your way to throw shade, and you seem to definitively go out of your way to like others more than he. I don't care. My last name is not Mahomes. So, and I don't have
may I interject something here? He doesn't seem to do what he does. Let's call it what it is.
For sure. But I do think it's very interesting, like, that you are ready to shovel dirt on the grave of someone who has been in the league for 4 minutes.
Nope, that's not it.
And has been, okay, like, look, I'm not one of these, like, make up a stat so you can ballyhoo it, right? Because I hate that. I hate those. I call those revisionist history stats. But there are some facts. Like, Patrick Mahomes has been in the NFL for 5 seasons. He's been a starting quarterback for 4, and he's been in the AFC Championship game in all 4.
Yep.
So it is wild to me that you want to shovel dirt on someone's career who is clearly climbing and not declining. Look, this past weekend was a prime example in both games of how much attitude matters. Andy Reid, unfortunately, this past weekend reverted back to Philadelphia Eagles Andy Reid. Like, look, the thing that I have liked about Andy Reid, the revisionist history that he's been able to rewrite about himself since he's been in Kansas City, is he has become a winner. Because let's be clear, people forget they ran Andy Reid out of Philadelphia because he couldn't win big games. And he was terrible at clock management. And what happened this weekend was he smelled the finish line and tried not to lose. On all but one drive in the second half, he called a run play on first down. Like, you can't play football not to lose. And at the end of the day, when that dude is your quarterback, win or lose, like, you can't just give him 2 downs. Like, you, at some point in time, you got to be like, look, this is my guy. If he throws it away on first down, then so be it. That ain't going to happen, and it didn't happen, right? Like, I didn't see the interception play at first, and then I was told, so I said, what happened? Oh, Patrick Mahomes forced a ball in the double coverage. Then I saw it. I was like, no, he didn't. He threw a ball to a dude, hit him in both hands. The ball hit his hands, and then was miraculously intercepted. Great play on their part, but at the end of the day, that wasn't like a Derek Carr force. That wasn't like that was a legitimate throw made by a guy trying to win a football game. But you can't leave it to that when you're up 21-3, right? Like, you got to play some offense and try to bury people. You can't just, well, there's not enough time for them to beat us if we don't beat ourselves. Like, you can't coach like that. And in the other game, like, Kyle Shanahan was guilty of reading his own press clippings. Like, we own the Rams. All those players, we own the Rams. Hey, you know what? That's true. But at some point, you have to do more than just talk about it. Like, you have to be about it. Like, they were the better team in a lot of that game. And this whole idea that McVay is a genius is laughable to me. It's laughable. Like, that dude ain't no smarter than any other good quarterback, good coach in the NFL. And let's be clear, when the Rams lose the Super Bowl, that still makes this trade a zero sum, because they got to the Super Bowl and lost with Jared Goff, right? And I said that when the trade was made. Y'all traded away your entire future for a dude that is not proven to have gotten there. And when you get there and lose again, and that's best case scenario, then it ends up being a zero sum, which means you lost the trade. So I don't know, man. I'm a fan of people who try to win the game from the gun to the gun. And I never like prevent defenses, and I don't like basically what Andy Reid did the whole second half, which is prevent offense. Because all it does is it prevents any rhythm in a game, and it prevents you from winning.
I will answer your question after the governor goes.
So I had no I'm going to start with the Chiefs, and that was another example. Again, the other part about playoff football. That game came down to a field goal, did it not?
Yep.
What happened at the end of the first half?
Yep.
Yeah.
Andy Reid wanted to kick a field goal. Pat Mahomes said, "Come on, we're rolling. Let's do this," right? And I think there's a little bit of psychology going on there, because he attempted to make a play. Well, there were two plays that they tried to get in the end zone, and ultimately they were unsuccessful, right? And I don't think anybody in that stadium was thinking at 21-3, possibly going up 24-3, that there was any way possible that the Bengals were going to come back and win that game. But I will say this: when they went into the locker room after that botched attempt to score, I think that took a little bit of the sting out. And I will also add to Lamar's point: you can't put a bridle on Patrick Mahomes. You cannot go out and play safe. That man does not play at that speed. And you could tell the difference in the speed that they were playing with in the first half compared to the second half. You cannot try and run out a clock.
Not for a whole half.
You can't do it. You cannot do it. And you can't tell me that on the other side, Joe Burrow was smelling blood, and it was unbelievable to watch, and it's just, when that train leaves the station, there's no stopping it, right? It's like, it's all about rhythm, and the way the Chiefs play, there's a certain rhythm that they have to play with. And there is clearly a marked difference in that second half. So yes, I am a little hurt, because I thought that was a for sure thing, a for sure path to getting that next Super Bowl title, and even furthermore to solidify him as one of the greats. And maybe that's more fire in the belly, and we don't see a letdown next year in the first part of the season. Who knows? But yeah, that credit to the Bengals, credit to Joe Burrow, and he did what he was supposed to do. Try to win the game. As far as the Rams 49ers, oh man, I agree again. I think the 49ers came in there as a better team. They had already beaten the Rams several times. And again, this is the playoffs, man. I mean, you've got to play for the entire time, and there can't be, little mistakes here, little mistakes there. No, it's just not going to happen. And it's I hate to sound cliche, but it's fitting that it came down to a Garoppolo interception.
Oh my God, yes.
Hate to say it, but I mean, if there was any, as far as 49ers ownership, any doubt about whether or not they were making the right move. Now, who's going to replace him? That's a whole nother story. But to put it on his shoulders, no, they're just not built.
Can I jump in there just real quick on that one point? This is the part that kills me about the NFL. Everybody wants to blame Jimmy. The 49ers made Jimmy Garoppolo a $150 million quarterback. He didn't, right? He was Tom Brady's backup. The 49ers decided this dude is the greatest thing that's not out there yet and made him into this by giving him this giant contract, right? Like Jimmy Garoppolo is, if we're going to be honest, he's probably better than he was when he was in New England. But he's just not what they made him into. And I don't think he ever had the chance or the skill set to live up to that.
No.
Not only that,
he's still cashing them checks.
Not only that, let's be clear, because it's at this point it's well documented. When Tom Brady left New England, he wanted to go to the 49ers, full stop. No negotiations, no nothing. And they said, nah, we're good with Jimmy.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Okay, so, I'm in the Bay Area. Hugh's a hardcore 49er fan. Whatever you think about your team, and honestly, how they've been under Shanahan, they're fun to watch. I like their grit. They're kind of underdogs, right? Y'all could have had a few Super Bowls if you would have had to go with that defense and all this other stuff. But Mr. Lamar brought up a lot of great things that I would quickly like to run through so I can hopefully get you to not necessarily agree with me, but understand what I've been saying. Thank you for bringing up Andy Reid in Philadelphia. My problem, sir, with the narratives surrounding Patrick Mahomes is the same problem that I have with almost anything in sports. I don't like undeserving hype. When Andy Reid was in Philadelphia, I seem to remember the Philadelphia Eagles going to the NFC Championship game for 4 years in a row. I don't remember not one time was Donovan McNabb considered a GOAT. I don't ever remember anyone talking about the Philadelphia Eagles were a dynasty because they went to the NFC Championship 4 years in a row. But all of a sudden, in today's world, we've lowered that bar so much that the Chiefs are that. They're not. They're not a dynasty. They're a very good football team. They're not a dynasty.
May I interrupt you, sir?
You can retort, but go ahead.
Okay. I just want to remind you that the question was about Patrick Mahomes.
I'm getting there, sir. If you're interrupting me, to redirect me, I don't know. I'm getting there.
I would like you to go down the path and not go around the block, because this is not about, the question was, why do you dislike Patrick Mahomes?
Well, the question was under a false premise, because I do not dislike Patrick Mahomes.
I am a fan.
I am a fan of Patrick Mahomes. I'm a fan of his talent. I think he is elite. I think he is grade A. But I refuse to sit back and pretend that he's better than everybody wants to, than reality. He's not as good as people want to pretend that he is. And the Chiefs are not as good as everybody pretends that they are. They're just not. What Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have become is the most arrogant football team in the NFL.
Oh, no.
No shot.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I didn't know, not the Dallas Cowboys fan base, sir. I'm talking about the play on the field. What you saw at the end of the first half was pure, unadulterated arrogance, and not by Andy Reid. Thank you for pointing that out, Governor. By Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid wanted to kick the field goal. Patrick Mahomes like, nah, man, I got this. We finna score. And then made a boneheaded decision to throw it to the flat to Tyreek Hill, and it blew up in his face and gave momentum back to the other team. Here's my problem. When Patrick Mahomes is on, he's phenomenal. QBR in the first half, Patrick Mahomes was 98 out of 100. In the second half, he was 1.4. The Chiefs lost the game because Patrick Mahomes sucked in the second half. And no one wants to own that. He was awful. That's why they lost the game.
So that makes him one of a million guys over the years that's had a bad half of football.
Thank you.
That doesn't mean.
So why are we anointing him like he's untouchable?
Can we please see? Here's my issue. And see, I'm going to say this, and I'm done. Like this crap, right? Nobody on these tiles is anointing Patrick Mahomes.
Sir, I didn't.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. You keep saying we.
Yes, and I've explained to you 20 times. The we that I'm referring to is the media narrative that is out there.
Okay, so then for the 21st time, then go talk to them.
I am.
You could no, you're not. You're talking.
I'm talking to the audience.
You're talking, and nobody in the audience is the we that you're speaking of either.
Oh, that's not true at all. That's not true at all.
It's true. It's true.
They know. They know because I got
but at the end of the day, the question was Mahomes. You answered the question about Mahomes.
I do.
And like nobody, okay, this is just me. Okay. I'm a little older, a little wiser, a little more conservative than you are. It's totally unfair for you to go at his neck because there's people out there who, like you, are entitled to their opinion, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that's what makes America great, right? Everybody's entitled to their own damn opinion. Okay. So if you're of the opinion that he's not as good as you think he is, but they are of the opinion that they think he is as good as, then everybody has their own opinion. But for you to say some of the things you say about him, it's totally.
What did I say about him that's untrue?
I'm not going through this with you, so you know.
Okay, Lamar,
I'm not doing it.
Is there one thing that I said about Patrick Mahomes ever that is untrue?
Actually, there's several, but
give me one.
For the sake of this argument, no.
Just one?
Well, I mean, we can start with your general premise. You premise that Patrick Mahomes is overrated. And I will tell you by any measuring stick you use, that statement is erroneous. He is not overrated. By every measuring stick you use in the NFL, you're talking about statistics, right? Not team wins, because first of all, I've never gotten that whole thing, right? But by any statistical analysis, like Patrick Mahomes is one of the top 2 quarterbacks in the NFL. So you can't be overrated if you're that good.
You can't be?
No.
Is Aaron Rodgers overrated?
No.
Again, no.
Wow. Okay.
See. I'm gonna go out on this limb and see. This is my problem with people like yourself, right? Okay, it's easy to sit behind. And I'm gonna use Dwayne Ross's line. It's easy to sit in your cushy chairs and watch people do things and be critical of them. Okay. So my problem is like, when you get in that arena and you got a guy that's been in the league as a starting quarterback for 4 years, and for 4 years, he's been in the championship game, right? Mm-hmm. But he's overrated. That's just asinine to me. Okay. Right. So
especially when he plays one side of the ball, he doesn't play offense and defense.
Right. If
we're doing the offense defense thing.
If he is definitely not the GOAT. I don't know who believes that because he's not.
I sent you all a whole bunch of links last week.
Hey, not doing that. Yeah. But if you or anybody else thinks that guy is not one of the elite quarterbacks in this league and has a chance, if he continues to play at this level, to be one of the all-time greats, then people are delusional.
I already said he was elite. I started with that.
He is an absolutely phenomenal player.
Yes, he is.
And you trash him all the time. But
anyway,
I trash the hype machine. I trash the hype machine. Then trash the hype machine. But I don't think
what else we got
us with the hype machine because we're not the hype machine.
Wait. Lamar, the other thing that you said that has nothing to do with that game, I wanted to get into the other game. Again, to make the point about narratives, right? Right now, Matthew Stafford is being largely praised for his turnaround, right?
I think
For
it's
him.
laughable.
Of course it's laughable because, you know, we were both watching the game, and if number 7 from San Francisco doesn't drop the easiest interception I've ever seen in my life, then Matthew Stafford lost them the game. Matthew Stafford played well. He wasn't awesome, but just by
That
a dude
throw
dropping a
was
pick,
the definition of an arm punt.
right? But just because a dude drops a pick, everybody acts like Matthew Stafford played this phenomenal game. He absolutely did not. He threw the game away, and the dude dropped the ball. Jimmy G was just trying to make a play and actually hit his guy in the hands with the ball. Like,
right.
The narratives are hilarious to me. They're just hilarious to me.
I keep saying Matthew Stafford literally is the same guy as the guy that played in Detroit.
Yes, if you're watching
same guy.
Yes.
Same guy. He will give you one pick a game for sure.
And the Niners dropped it. like it was about to be over.
No, that was a second pick. He threw one already.
Right. But that one in that moment, game was done.
That was the deal.
If he catches that ball and kneels, game's over.
Yes. Yeah.
And then Monday morning, everybody's like, see, Matthew Stafford's the same dude that he was in Detroit. But all of a sudden, the dude drops the pick. And on Monday morning, Matthew Stafford has resurrected his career. Really?
Yeah. Well, trust me, Matthew Stafford is going to throw several picks.
I am not going to disagree that Matthew Stafford is pretty much the same guy that he was in Detroit. But he has better tools, he's a better team around him, much better team around him. So the whole resurrection deal is, man's playing in the Super Bowl. What in the world do y'all expect him to say?
I
That's
expect
that what narrative do you expect him to paint?
Well, sir, I'll answer that for you. I expect. Listen. We're on YouTube. This is Athletics LLC, right? Right now we're talking about football, but when we talk about track, because of who you are, Sir Lucious, I expect that the audience listening expects, whether they agree with you or not, to hear you talk about track and field and be able to sit there and be like, you know what? I might like the dude, I might hate the dude, but he knows what he's talking about because this is his game. Like, he's smart. He knows what he's saying, right? When I turn on my television and watch professional journalists and former players discuss the NFL, I like to be able to watch TV and have what they're talking about match what the hell my eyes are showing me. And they don't often. They just paint the narratives they want to paint. And it's hilarious to me. And that's my annoyance with it. Like, just tell the truth. We all watched the television. We all saw the play. Just be honest about it. It's okay to say the defense won the games for the Rams. It's okay to say Sean McVay may be cool, but he's clearly not a genius. Like, it's okay to tell the truth.
Okay, but see, but here's the thing: like, the truth is what you perceive it to be. Okay. And in some people's minds, obviously not yours, they think the guy is a genius. Okay, and some people's minds, okay, if you go from Detroit, where you're averaging 2 wins a year, to playing in the Super Bowl, your career has been resurrected. Because now there's one thing you can say that a lot of people can never say. I played in the Super Bowl. Not only did I play, I was a starting quarterback in the Super Bowl. So from that angle, his career has been resurrected.
Well, so was Jared Goff.
Am I? Hold on. Okay, exactly. Okay, exactly. Okay, so that room is full of those people. Now, at the end of the day, does that make him an elite quarterback? No. Does that make him one of the best in the league? No. But if you look at his stats this year, you know, another thing is this, okay, like, let's not trash the man like he played an awful game.
He played fine.
Matthew Stafford is who he is. He makes silly plays and he makes great plays, right? And most times it's more silly than great. But, like, let's not trash the guy because if you want the truth, then you spout the truth as well and say, okay, look, in my opinion, the guy played a good game. He helped his team win the game. He's the starting quarterback of the NFC champions, and he's playing in the Super Bowl. So in a lot of ways, guys, he did resurrect his career. Because if he stayed in Detroit, he never has those things behind his name, ever.
What I find hilarious is statistically, for a statistical season, Matthew Stafford has been the quarterback to two of the three greatest wide receiver statistical seasons ever.
Yep.
Two
Big
of
Ron
the
Cooper
three
Kupp.
greatest wide receiver seasons ever had in the NFL. And that
So
man
therefore,
led
shouldn't
the
we-
NFL.
so shouldn't we
He
give him credit
led
for
the
something? Then?
NFL in interceptions this year.
Exactly.
He's hot garbage.
He's not hot garbage.
He is.
He's not doing that.
Lucius, I just want to
Anyway,
point out, he
next.
said that. I didn't say that. He
I know,
said,
and I
Listen,
appreciate you not saying that.
if-
But look,
if-
again,
If my
I
son
am
was down here,
not-
he would come on the screen and tell y'all, I've been saying Matt Stafford was garbage since he was
okay,
in Georgia.
he's okay. He's hot garbage. That's the starting quarterback in the Super Bowl, and we'll just let it ride.
That is tremendous. I'm gonna use a word
and
that you like to
and he's
use.
hot. And he's hot. No, don't do
He's serviceable.
I mean,
That is
listen,
a
That's
Sir Lucious
unfair.
term.
Matt Stafford,
Matt Stafford is
is
serviceable.
better. Matt
he's
Stafford is
serviceable. I'll take
better.
that.
Matt Stafford is better than Rex Grossman, but Rex Grossman was the starting quarterback in the Super Bowl too. So
Okay, and again, but they're in the room. So no matter whatever happens with Rex Grossman, he can always say, "Hey guys, I played in the Super Bowl." Right?
Trent
So-
Dilfer.
because-
I'll
because-
take your
because-
Rex Grossman and I'll raise you Trent Dilfer. How about that?
Exactly.
Because he won.
Exactly.
he won.
Exactly.
Dilfer was better than Grossman.
Trent
Dilfer was
Dilfer's
better
like
than
six-
Grossman.
Exactly. So the thing about it is, okay, so there's not a whole bunch of guys in that room that started at quarterback in the Super Bowl.
That's right.
But there's a big room that's freaking piled up, overflowing of guys who've never had a chance to get there.
Listen,
And let's
I'm gonna
give
say
the man
this.
credit. He waited 13 years, right?
I'm
Yes.
going to say this
13
right
years.
here
In
on
Detroit.
worldwide television.
In Detroit.
In Detroit.
I am a diehard, lifelong Giants fan, and Eli Manning is average at best. But for two postseasons,
Yep.
what is that?
He was elite
An
in the playoffs.
8-game span, two
He was
4-game
elite in the
spans.
playoffs.
That man was Jesus in cleats.
Yes, he was.
He was throwing balls ain't never been thrown before or since.
They were sticking the helmets. They were just,
So-
I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
you know,
So all I'm
them
saying is
8
this, is that,
games,
like,
them
I am
8
not
games
buying
make
into
that
the
dude a Hall of
narrative
Famer.
that Matthew Stafford is this incredible quarterback. I'm
Eli
not buying into
Manning.
that narrative at all, and I'm not. Eli Manning's not an incredible quarterback either, but for those two
Eli
postseasons, he
Manning,
was.
Eli Manning did something that Patrick Mahomes could never do: beat
Oh, here
Brady
we
in the
go.
postseason.
Twice.
Well, see, here's the thing, So we're gonna get Brady and Mahomes and A-Rod and
Oh,
all
here
your
we
other
go.
quarterbacks. They can
They
go to
gonna all
the
watch
bar,
the game together.
watch the game together.
They're gonna smoke cigars in honor of Joe Burrow.
Watch the game. You know what? Why don't they just all go to Jimmy G's house? He's got time.
Well, Jimmy G's selling his house because he's already been traded.
That's what I'm saying. Jimmy G's selling his house, so let's have a going away party.
So wait, before we move on, we're not doing Super Bowl predictions now because the game is still a week away, right?
Right.
We're doing that later.
Right, correct.
Yes.
Okay. Go. What's
my
next?
gosh.
Chewy?
All right. Okay, so moving on. Name not relative to us, but situation relative to us, meaning coaching community. Brian Flores currently has filed a lawsuit against a prominent populations, actually, I should stand corrected. So he's got a lawsuit against the NFL and specific teams that are named. I don't remember them off the top of my head, so I apologize. But
Giants, Broncos, and Dolphins.
there you go. And he's had Elway spoke out against him today about his accusations. But talk about this.
You know what? I'll go first. Why not? First off, the fact that these people have spoken out against him makes me laugh because there's a saying they have down south: a hit dog sure will holler. The reason they protest so adamantly is because they know that there's teeth to this. And what I found most enlightening Because I'm one of those people that watches the stuff that happens on the sides of the screen and not just what happens in the middle. You know, when Brian Flores and his lawyers went on television, on both shows that they were on, what I thought was most poignant, there were a lot of really poignant things said. What I thought was most poignant was this: the NFL took weeks to investigate deflated footballs. They took months to investigate Spygate. You get my point, right? In 27 minutes, the NFL came out with a statement not saying they were going to investigate, not saying these allegations are, we take them seriously and we will look them, we will vet them. They came out with a statement in 27 minutes that said that these statements are unfounded. Here's my problem with that. They turned in 62-page document with allegations and proof. You can't read a 62-page legal document in 27 minutes and come to a conclusion, let alone investigate all of the things that were accused in the document. There are 3 different programs actually being accused. There is no shot that you could have looked into this in any level of seriousness before you came out with this statement saying, that ain't true. So I'm of the firm belief that Brian Flores is going to win this suit, but I just hope, unlike the Kaepernick win, that he wins aggressively, loudly, and without any corners being rounded. Like, to me, until the NFL admits that this has been going on and admits that they need to change, I hope he doesn't stop until that happens.
So
not till they settle out of court, not till they give him a bunch of money, not till they decide they can't blackball him, none of that, because they got all those things available. Not till they admit that these things not only have happened, have been happening. Because 30 minutes after that, Hugh Jackson said, hey, guess what? The Browns offered me money to lose games too.
Okay, so that's where I wanted to go with this, and I'm glad that you went in that direction. First of all, I reserve the right to change my mind about all of this later. But right now, but right now, my thoughts are standing ovation, bravo to Brian Flores. Totally necessary, long past due that somebody did this. And if Brian Flores actually has the stomach to make the NFL bleed over this, it can change so many things, not just in the NFL and their hiring practices, but in hiring practices within sports and racial stigmas and hiring practices across the corporate landscape, right? But he has to have the stomach to stick in there. He has to be able to say, oh, you're going to pay me what you're going to pay me, but after the discovery makes it to the public. Because if he just takes a check and and co-signs them sealing this up and going on about their business, then all that means is that Brian Flores gets compensated and the thing keeps on going the way it's going to go. This thing
goes exactly the same way as the concussion lawsuit did. Yes,
this needs light. This needs air. The discovery from this class action lawsuit has to make it into the public eye for things to really change. I watch MSNBC a lot. Chris Hayes' show tonight had Brian Flores on. It was phenomenal. You should watch it. if if he has the stomach to do this, it might be the most important, standing against authority in pro sports history. It's that big. It can be that important, but he has to have the stomach to ride it out. I don't know if he does. You're not going to out-lawyer the NFL. You're not going to throw more money at this to make it go away. That, like the money and the power is still on their side of this, but he has opened the door to make this extremely real. He'll probably never coach in the NFL again, and that's tragic. But if he's willing to make that sacrifice and make the NFL bleed over this, I'm here for it. We'll see.
Okay, so I'm going a slightly different direction here. Like I absolutely think he has to ride this to the end. But at the end of the day, guys, like, well, what's really going to make this change? Because no matter how much money they pay him, no matter how far he takes this, you can't put a gun to people's heads and make them hire people they don't want to hire. It's all it comes down to. So it's systemic racism. It has been that way, and it's going to continue to be that way. I don't care how much money he gets out of this. I don't care how far he takes this. You can't go to any of the NFL owners and say, okay, the Rooney Rule is the biggest bunch of crap in the history of sports. Okay. You have to interview 2 African Americans or an African American candidate, whatever the stupid rule is, right? So until there's something in place that really addresses hiring people that are of quality, no matter what their color of their skin is, until there's something to put in, until there's owners that are willing to take chances on African Americans, it's not going to change. I don't care how much money he makes. I don't care how loud he screams, because just the fact that they can take a man's career and run him out of the league with Kaepernick, right? And let's be realistic, okay? Like, I'm old enough to remember when Black quarterbacks couldn't play in the NFL, right? And there's still that voice out there that says Blacks can't play in the NFL. They can't quarterback in the NFL, right? So where do we really think this is going to go other than lining his pockets? Yeah, I mean, anybody that's paying attention is like, okay, good for him. But is there anything that he said that was like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened? Absolutely not. So my thing is simple. Like, I'm proud of him. I'm glad he stood up. I hope he makes them bleed. But there's really no way you're ever going to change those practices. Those men, they're billion-dollar corporations. They're going to hire who in the heck they ever want to hire, and then you can do about it.
Yeah, it's the good and the bad. Again, full standing ovation for what Brian Flores is doing. And he has already made it clear that he knows that he's probably never going to coach in the NFL ever again.
Probably.
And he's willing to take this chance. He's already put that out there.
Right.
And, Hugh Jackson for coming forward. I mean, obviously, we are still sifting through all of this, the legal, everything that's involved with this lawsuit. What comes to mind is what we witnessed with the Clippers. Okay, so there is precedent here. Okay, and that was a situation that was so egregious, right? There was so much stuff that they actually forced this man to sell the team, okay? The difference is the NBA is much more talent-driven, player-driven than the NFL is. And again, to Sir Lucious's point, these owners, now, do you have these owners in the NFL? They are in lockstep with each other, and they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. And the fact that there are statistics now that can actually show that Black coaches are hired at particular times, i.e. rebuilding, okay? We're gonna bring you in, okay? And you're gonna help build us up. And for all intents and purposes, what Brian Flores did was not what they wanted. Okay. The Dolphins wanted more draft picks. That is clear. They did not want more wins, right? And how do you tell that to a Dolphin fan? How do you explain that to a diehard Dolphin fan that, hey, man, these 2 winning seasons we just had, nah, that wasn't the plan. Really? And that's what's just absolutely amazing. And I can't wait for more of this, more information to come out. But the ramifications, you know, from fantasy football to, you know, to the statistics, to all of these things that, you know, what we're hearing about the Browns. I mean, we know about those periods of time. You know, for Browns fans, they remember very clearly that period of time, right? And you're, you know, from the outside looking in, it looks like, oh man, we're just clawing and scratching just to get that win. We're just clawing and scratching just to get ourselves out of this, you know, this period of time that we're in, and we're going to get to the other side, right? And we're going to amass these draft picks, and we as fans will speak that language, right? But what you're not noticing is that the free agents, the veterans, being pushed out the door at the same time. There is a system to this.
Well,
this is a machine that has a plan. There is a plan in place, and they're executing that plan. And without telling you, unless you bring a coach in and tell him flat out, hey man, you're going to be here for 2-3 years, right? And we are going to stink. Okay? And you are going to be okay with this. that is what, you know, no fan wants to hear that, right? Well, you can't have that conversation.
It goes to the perceived culture of what football is supposed to represent, right?
Yeah.
Because no one has a problem. I mean, I guess some fans do, but no one really complains about the NBA, where every year there's 2 or 3 teams that are openly tanking to get better draft picks, right?
Like that's deadline. Can't wait to the trade deadline.
I mean, Philadelphia made a whole thing over it, like a 5-6 year plan, right? We're gonna suck on purpose, and it hasn't worked out yet, right? But it was accepted in the NBA. It goes against.
There's a reason. Wait, but there's a reason. The reason that tanking is accepted in the NBA is because the players aren't getting screwed in the process. Right. The players get 51% of the total revenue that is generated in the NBA. So that's why tanking is accepted. If you don't want to win, that's fine, but you're not going to screw the players in doing so. Exactly. But in every other league, when you tank, you take money off the players' pockets.
Absolutely. And that's why this particular secret sanctioned tanking is so explosive and has the ability to legitimately blow up the business model of the NFL if this thing gets pushed far enough. That's the second biggest story behind the racism in hiring practices, right? It's the business model where you're incentivizing losing on the hush.
Yeah.
Now
$100,000 per loss.
Right. Now for me personally, again, we can all read, you can all watch the interviews, you understand what tanking is. I don't understand the new narrative in the past 24 hours. Like, see, we told you the NFL is rigged. No. Fixing games and sanctioned tanking are not the same thing.
They're not the same.
That's not a thing.
Not at all.
No.
So stop that.
Not at all. Because look, here's what sanctioned tanking looks like. The Browns decided that the way to go is to stack draft picks. Mm-hmm. They hire Hugh Jackson under all these different auspices, and then they hand him a roster that is literally impossible to win NFL football games.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's impossible. Like, because you have to have it because of the violence of the game and the depth required. Like literally, you can assure yourself of not winning games if you just build a roster that's not very deep and marginally talented. Because all you got to do is stay in a game for the first half, and nobody says, "Oh, you don't care. You're just not good enough."
Yeah.
Right. But they did Stu Jackson even worse, right? The ultimate okey doke, because once he saw the roster and knew it was hot garbage, they sold him on the fact that it wasn't going to cost him his career.
Yeah.
I know we only signed you to 3 years. We're going to sign you to an extension. They signed that man to a 5-year extension, and 8 games into the extension, fired him.
That's right. That's right.
So it was like literally like, look, bro, we was trying to give you money to lose. So that money was a sunk cost to us in the first place.
Right.
You didn't get the memo that we needed to lose. So look, at the end of the day, we'll do the math. You got 4.5 years worth of salary. The buyout is this. That's basically what we was trying to give you in the first place to lose. So at the end of the day, we're even. Take your money and go coach at the HBCU, because we're never coaching in the NFL again.
That's right. And it speaks to just how good of a coach Brian Flores actually is.
Yes.
Because the Dolphins roster is terrible. Yeah. The organization is obviously terrible and openly sanctioning tanking.
The organization made him take a quarterback he didn't want.
Still got it done.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
Look, I want to say this. Like, listen, sometimes the NFL is screaming to you all these things that Brian Flores mentioned. And I know it's none of the people on this screen, but we, the fan base, we just love to have our heads in the sand. Let's start with this. Does anybody on this screen know how much money Roger Goodell makes? Anybody have a guess?
If I remember, it's like 60-something million a year.
$63.9 million a year.
Whew.
Think about it. He makes more money than Patrick Mahomes, right? And why? Why does he make that amount of money? Because his sole job is to be the face of the league, and therefore no one is looking at the 30 faces, the 32 faces that he works for.
That's right. He gets paid to take bullets for the owners. He gets paid to take bullets for the owners.
Exactly. His job is to take bullets for the owners, right? Robert Kraft is beloved. Robert Kraft was guilty of pandering and underage minor massage parloring, but ain't nobody talking about that. I mean, this happened.
It's on tape.
Right? Like, it's on film.
I mean,
right?
I think that this conversation has taken a hard left turn. No, I'm only saying that, right? Hard left
because I'm only saying that because, look, if you look at the other things that NFL owners have gotten away with for years, if you know any of these things, that the things that Brian Flores has accused them of should be well within their wheelhouse. If you revenue share
10 minutes ago,
if you revenue
nothing
share,
happened here is anybody's surprised.
Yeah. If you revenue share with 31 of your buddies and you're all billionaires, like, you don't care if you don't win some of these games.
I'm just trying to imagine what it would be like to be on my way to an interview and to get a text from one of my contemporaries telling me congratulations.
Mentors.
Your mentor
Hello.
tells you congratulations for a job that you interviewed for 48 hours later. And
unbelievable.
It's funny because it's the second time a 60-year-old white guy has messed up on text messages in the NFL this year.
Oh man.
So Lucious, I wanted to ask you something. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with your premise that, listen, it's a private corporation and you ultimately can't tell these people to hire who they don't want to hire. On principle, right. I agree with that. But do you not see a path where the documented stench of this is big enough and bright enough to where some of these owners, to Governor's point, end up actually having to get out of this business? You don't see that as a possibility?
I mean, not right now. We'll have to see what unravels with all of this. But I mean, like this is, it's just going to be what it always is. There's going to be some noise. We'll go back to a year and a half ago when all the noise was happening in the country, and we're changing names of plantations and golf courses and taking down statues. And all of a sudden, that's very quiet, isn't it? This is going to be loud and proud for about 4 or 5, 6 months. And a year from now, everybody's going to be forgotten about it. He'll get paid, but the practices that, like the NFL is like its own little mafia. Like there's no way to break it up.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. There's no how you going to break it up.
But that's why what you said earlier was
let's
so
pretend let's pretend that they force one of the owners, or 2 of the owners, or 3 of the owners to sell their teams. Who are they going to sell them to? Somebody just like them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not necessarily.
So,
I mean,
necessary.
Wait a minute, the Clippers. Wait a minute. The Clippers didn't go to someone who was just like Donald.
It's a different deal.
Different deal.
You can't use the NBA because look, I'm not gonna say the NBA is a black league, but it's different. But I will say this. The Denver situation is an interesting one because ostensibly John Elway's being attacked twice, right? He's being attacked in the owner pool, right? Because remember, he's applying to be an owner. He's the Broncos are being sold, and he's in the primary lead group to try to buy the team. So there's that, and then he's being personally accused in the I showed up to the interview an hour late and drunk by Brian Flores, right? One of the other groups attempting to buy the Broncos is being led by the richest African American in the United States, right? So, like, you could actually have a black NFL owner. I'm not holding my fingers crossed for this, but it is definitely possible. What will be interesting, and this is why what you said the first time was, I think, the most poignant thing. Like, Brian Flores has to be willing to be Curt Flood. So, like, the reason that there's free agency in sports is because there became free agency in baseball. And that's why earlier, Clyde, when you said that, the ramifications and the size of this, it's large, but it ain't ever going to be bigger than Curt Flood, because Curt Flood is the reason that there's free agency in sports in general. But what most people don't understand is Curt Flood lost his career.
Right.
Like, that dude. So and Brian Flores is going to lose his.
But Brian Flores, if he were to lose his career, he's going to get paid. Curt Flood didn't get paid either.
Okay. Here's my thing. Okay, he's going to lose his career. He's going to get paid, but nothing's going to change.
Well,
nothing's going to change.
Listen,
and look, I definitely
for...
believe that you are probably right. I guess my only hope is this. My hope is that Brian Flores can at least pull back the veil behind the way the NFL does business and at least make them do business in a transparent fashion. Because at least, look, I don't care who owns the NFL teams. I really don't. They could all be white. I don't care. I just would like for their business to be done in a transparent fashion so that they can't pee on people's heads and tell them it's raining. Because that's what's been going on in the NFL for a really long time.
Exactly. So I'm gonna say this again, and maybe I'm not being clear here, right? They are who they are. They are who they've always been, right? So no matter what happens, okay, well, some of the stuff that's getting exposed with the paying to lose and all that stuff, okay, that's the transparency you're talking about. But what does this do to ensure that there will be more African-American coaches selected as head coaches? Nothing. If anything,
because if the transparency has to happen in the hiring process, then you can have an independent arbitrator in the room.
You can't tell me who to hire. You can't tell me, okay, there's 5 black candidates and 3 white candidates. I'm going to hire who I want to hire. So there's nothing that's going to happen here that's going to guarantee that African Americans are going to get jobs. As a matter of fact, it's going to guarantee that the next one is going to be harder to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you that. In the industry that we work in track and field, How many African-American coaches have gone someplace and not been successful and went on and got another job? I'll wait. We don't get those freaking chances, man.
We
And what
had
makes you
this
think the NFL is gonna get it?
conversation earlier this week.
And
So my
that's why
thing is this is if okay, what makes you think that Brian Flores is helping the next black guy get a job? He's not.
well, and so that's why, listen, that's why I said I'm holding out space to see where this goes, because this Brian Flores is either doing this for the greater good of all, or he's doing it because he's pissed off about his situation.
I believe he's very pissed off about his situation. And I'm just, in my humble opinion, I do not believe that this in any way is going to help another African American now or in the future get a job.
Right. So
Because
I hear you.
He's going to be viewed the angry black guy in the room. And if you hire another one, then he's going to become the angry black guy in the room.
So
it works.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. All I'm saying is at this moment, we don't know how the end result is. You perceive one thing. Lamar holds out space that he could be Curt Flood in this situation. I think both things are possible. Ultimately, it took Curt Flood to make that happen. Like, Curt Flood was a man of integrity. He really cared about the issue. He was willing to go there.
Okay, I hear you, sir. But I want you to listen. I want you to listen to what you're saying. You are comparing free agency to racism. There's no chance. Excuse my language, Micah. There's no chance in hell.
I'm not comparing.
I am 62 years old. I've been watching this crap go on and on forever. America is what it is and has been, and it's always going to be.
Okay.
I don't care what comes from this lawsuit. You're never going to look around and see 15 black head coaches in the NFL.
Okay.
It's not happening. You're not even going to see 5.
Well, sir, if you inherit it, what you're ultimately saying is there's nothing that can be done. There's no possibility to undo racism. I don't believe that. I think there are paths to do that. I think there are. And it's going to require really hard fights.
You know, as anybody else.
Whatever. That's fine. Listen. I can't.
Okay.
At this point in my life,
I'm gonna give you one statistic, sir. 70% of the players in the NFL are African American. There's one African American head coach.
That's right.
So you keep holding out hope,
sir. I cannot. Listen. You do what you do. Like you said, you in your 60s. I'm not. I am not.
And when you get in your 60s, guess what? It's gonna be the same stuff.
That's cool. And you are totally entitled to that opinion. I am not at a place in the world where I wake up every day and believe that the racism fight at every level is just not worth fighting. Because it just is what it is. I don't believe
it's not happening in NFL.
And the major reason is that there is not anything resembling regulation when it comes to an NFL owner.
Because the Rooney Rule is not regulation. The Rooney Rule is a Band-Aid. That's nonsense.
And the Rooney Rule is
it's not even a Band-Aid. There's fewer black coaches now than there were when the there are fewer black head coaches now than there were when the Rooney Rule was invoked.
All it says is you have to interview African American candidates. There's nothing about hiring. You have to interview.
So what it is okay.
It's a slide of entry.
You're going to try and tell me. You're going to try and tell me what to do. All right.
Exactly.
Here you go. I'm gonna go ahead and schedule.
I'm gonna bring you in for an interview. I'm gonna show up an hour late drunk.
That's right.
Right. Because they do not care.
Yeah.
But to bring it back around to what you said about our industry, maybe you haven't had to encounter this, but I have, and I know a lot of people have. I've gone into an interview situation where it was blatantly obvious that my interview wasn't real. That's a horrible feeling to go through, and it happens in every profession. Now, do I believe that
you do understand you're speaking to my point now, right?
I do understand that I'm speaking to your point. I do understand that, sir. The point that I'm making, the point that I'm speaking to is if we just collectively believe that it's all racist and there's nothing to do about it, then why even continue to fight for it? Why don't we just go back to the plantation then and accept our fate? I don't
Steve,
believe we
hold
should
on a
do that.
second. You are not going to put that crap on my plate. You should know better before you opened your mouth and said that incredibly ignorant statement. Okay.
Sir, you
Okay,
just said
hold on
there's
a second.
nothing to be
Okay,
done.
hold on a second. When it comes to the NFL and their hiring practices, right? All I'm telling you is the Brian Flores situation isn't going to change anything. Don't switch my words, and don't ever talk to me about going back to the damn plantation. Okay? Because I ain't going back to the plantation. We've had this discussion about me living on a damn plantation. That ain't happening, right? Okay.
I believe
So
there's an
all I'm telling
opportunity
okay,
through
there's
this
no
lawsuit.
opportunity. There is not.
Okay, we'll find out.
They're not. Because again, this is what's going to happen. So, and when we'll revise this or revisit this, as my man Lamar likes to say, we're going to revisit this down the road, and I'm going to sit here and tell you, I told you so. Because I've seen this before. It's just here in a different form, and it's louder. And see, just like, okay, understand what we just did, okay? There's more talk about being paid to lose than there is about the racism issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point. You guys went on this rant about the losing games. It ain't about losing no damn football games. Okay? It's about the collusionary and the idiocy that goes on in the hiring practices. But everybody's talking about the other side of it. It's all the sleight of hand trick because they don't want to talk about the racism issue. They never do.
Well, Brian Flores has to force that conversation, and he's claiming that that's what he's here for. So we're going to find out.
Yeah. So, and how old are you now?
40.
Okay. You're going to call me in 22 years, and I bet you it's the same thing.
I hope that you hope to be wrong.
I don't waste my hopes on things that I know that people. Okay. This is one of my favorite sayings. Right. Only stupid can fix stupid, but only if stupid wants to be fixed. The people that are running the NFL don't think there's anything wrong. So they ain't fixing anything. And there's no path here. There's no law you can say, okay, so you're going to bring the NFL owners into a room and go, there has to be 10 NFL head coaches. You can't do that. You can't tell people who to hire. There's no path here, sir. None.
Well, a change in ownership is
okay. And again, if people, isn't there a vote amongst the owners who gets to be owners?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't
yeah.
Yes.
60, I think you have to
okay.
67%.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got my point?
Yeah. I feel you.
You got my point?
But
Collusion all over again. So you keep holding
if you ever
out
watch
hope
the show,
that they're going to bring
Ballers,
somebody into the room that doesn't think the way they do. No, of course they're not. No.
All right. I know. Let's get into what we claim to be here for. Track is back. Track is back. Second edition of this 22 track season. Thank you to those viewers who seemingly commented in time with the video. It's pretty funny. I wish the comments would go to where they are in the video, but when they're made in the video. But we had a comment. Lamar, pay attention. Thank you, sir. Sean Pickering.
I mean, I'm listening.
Sean Pickering said he is interested to hear what you think of the fact that the world lead in the long jump is down to a decathlete or hammer. I think I'm saying that right. And the HEP this weekend, and the women's world lead is led by a heptathlete, Vincente.
What's the question?
What do you think about
the world lead in the long jump
is by a decathlete?
Is by two multis.
And what do we think about that?
What is
specifically Lamar?
Specifically, Lamar. Okay.
I mean, I look at it like this: decathletes operate in a silo because whatever goes on in the sport of track and field, they are required to advance. And they assume that nobody else cares about what they do, so they just keep their head down and go about their business. I mean, they're not going to end up as the as the number one long jumpers in the world, and I don't think that they aspire to do so. I think that, like, for the combined eventers, like, it's really just about the pursuit of points. Right? Like, if they end up better than everybody else, that does single events, like, great, so be it. But at the end of the day, like, I think it's a statistical anomaly because of the time of the season is what I think it is. Like, I think it's awesome. Right. It speaks to how good combined eventers really are, but I don't think it speaks to anything other than that, right? Like, look, 9,000 points is a gigantic number, right? But the reality is there are 2 active 9,000 plus point decathletes currently. So ostensibly, it takes 9,000 points to medal, right? So, like, if you're a decathlete, you're just trying to medal. Whatever it takes, it takes. And so, maybe you have to jump 27 feet for that to happen, if that's your skill set. Maybe you have to throw 60 feet in the shot, if that's your skill set. Like, but as a combined eventer, I will tell you, we, males and females as a group, don't really care what happens in the rest of the world, like in the rest of the events, because nobody cares as it pertains to us. Like, it just, so, like, that's what I think. I think it's cool. I think it's sweet that somebody took a snapshot of that and then brought it up. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean much.
It's very cool, and it's February 1st.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a statistical snapshot. That's what it means. Big jumps, don't get me wrong. I mean, big jumps.
I'm curious, Governor, having been a person who did fight for those world leads and whatnot, how do you take that, knowing that those 2 are in the lead right now?
Yeah, I look at it in the same vein. I just think that, we're in a season that is, I don't think, holds much weight in the general professional track and field world. And on that note, I mean, I just don't think anyone is ready or looking to jump that far this early. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think there's ample opportunity for a for a heptathlete or a pentathlete to go out there and drop some big numbers. And, but other than that, I mean, I'm happy for him. I'm glad to see it. It's perhaps some long jumper out there that was, planning to start up in April says, you know what? No, that's not going to happen. Watch this. Perhaps that happens out of it, but other than that, kudos to the Swiss multi.
Got it. And just to credit everybody's comments that we received on the, not last 2 episodes, but the 2 versions of the last episode, thank you. Keep them coming. We do look at them. So going wholeheartedly into Trek is back. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what happened last week.
Was there another question though?
No, just those things being addressed. Yeah.
Well,
I think, we headlined the Milrose 60. And that was a big to-do last week. And it was a big to-dud. Like, I thought it was. So basically what you had 6, 7 guys, 8 guys, whatever it was. I think 4 or 5 of them got paid. They showed up in New York, didn't run very fast, got some money, and then went back home and started training for the USA Championships. I think I don't even think Vermel's going to run the USA Championships. He's not going to run World Indoors this year. He's going back to get ready for outdoors. So
It was Melrose was a perfect PR stunt that the PR pundits for Melrose got right. The finish order was correct, right? So the way they hyped it was right. But yes, the race overall, very meh.
Yeah.
Well, to your point, Clyde, I mean, none of those athletes were looking to do, I don't think they're looking to do anything crazy indoors anyway.
They was out there training.
They're training, absolutely. So I think that's what you saw. I think you saw a group of athletes that are in training. So
stop by, pick up a paycheck.
there you go,
go
Sir
about the
Lucious.
business, yeah.
Just like that.
I mean, you had some distance folks. I think that probably the more impressive performances at Melrose were by the collegians that got into the races and got pulled along to NCAA qualifying marks, but I don't think there was, watching Donovan Brazier run a 400 was laughable. He looked like he was getting his wisdom teeth pulled the entire time.
Oh my God.
It was odd.
It was awful, yeah.
I mean, the only great performance that was in that meet, well, there were two. One was by, I almost want to call her Batgirl. I want to give her own nickname, right? Because she's a monster. She's an absolute monster. And look, 718.
Hold on, hey. Clyde and I can't talk about that, right?
She ran fast. How about that?
Who that be?
Nobody.
Just
Clyde,
keep going.
Big and I cannot. No, wait, hold on a second. None of us can talk about that
No,
but you, sir.
just him.
So move forward.
No, go ahead. What's going on?
No, you can't.
Okay.
But what happened?
You can't.
You can't.
We'll talk
You have to
about-
wait till
we'll
we
talk
finish.
Go watch the meet. The other performance that like obviously has to be talked about is just going to make me mad again, right? Like Ryan Krauser out there doing Ryan Krauser things. And listen, if you go to a basketball game, right, your job is to go play basketball. You can't be playing basketball and then after the game they say that the hoop wasn't in the right place. Right? Like that doesn't happen. You don't play an entire NFL football game and then afterwards they say none of the statistics counted because we thought those were 5-yard lines, but they were only 4. Like what? I mean, Ryan Krauser goes out, breaks more record, and then all of the marks from the entire meet are stricken because they put the measuring device in the wrong place. Listen, track is back, and unfortunately, so are officials and USATF and other people who do wonderful things. Look, it is what it is. Humans error. I understand. Like, I'm not like trying to take any personal shots at anybody, but at the end of the day, like certain things can't happen.
Well,
like just certain things can't happen.
My problem with that whole thing is like, okay, it's Melrose. You go out of your way to get Ryan Krauser to the show, right? Like, it can't be that hard to have a steel tape brought to the armory, just in case.
Can the church say amen, please?
Just in case dumb things happen.
Amen, and pass the plate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, God, like, come on, man. Like,
I mean, that should still be a thing once you announce that this is a world record. Like, hello.
The beauty of the whole thing is if you watch Krauser afterwards, people make mistakes, which was code for I'm going to do it again, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah,
sure. And honestly,
so I'm not like discounting anything you guys are saying. I just love him with his big cowboy hat on. Like, it's all right. People.
No, listen. Props to Ryan Krauser.
Come see me next week. I'll do it again.
Yeah. Props to Krauser for his grace in that moment. But if he chose to flame him over it, he wouldn't be wrong.
No,
like,
he wouldn't.
Like if you're gonna have a world-class event, prep for it. It's no different than the NCAA. We're gonna have indoor nationals. World junior and potentially world records are on the table. Have the damn drug testing there and do what you're supposed to do. Like it's not that hard.
Right. Well, there were some good collegiate performances out there as well. Hey,
Yeah.
An
Trey
NCAA
Cunningham.
record was broken, Sir Lucious. Is that right?
Yeah, there was an NCAA
And
record.
it was
broken.
measured correctly, right? There was no.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
For real this time it was broken.
It was
Yeah,
for real, for real.
I witnessed that. Miss
Okay.
Jasmine Moore broke the
Amen.
collegiate record in the triple jump, and yeah, it was pretty exciting to stand there and
Good
watch that.
stuff.
Yeah.
Really good
Kudos
stuff.
to Jazzy, Thor as I call her. She definitely put the hammer down. That's for sure.
Can we just take our 2 minutes and go through the Gator list, or we just gonna let him?
Hey, if that's what you'd like to do, sure, go ahead. I'm not going to do it for you.
I mean, look. I'm gonna let Clyde have this segment. I'm gonna go after him, but I do want to say this, right? We kid you because you're our guy, but sometimes you got to just sit back in your leather chair and let us say things that are true. And what is true is, I told a track fan, I said, "Yo, have you seen the performances that the Gators have done this year?" And he says, "No." So I read them off, like on a via text. He texted me back and he said, "Tell Mouse to chill, bruh."
Look, I'm gonna say this. I'm a fan of this young lady, and I'm a fan of the event. We did a couple shows ago. We were talking about like indoor previews, and I stood up and said that, man, and Lamar backed me on this, that indoors on paper, the scoring record's gonna be broken, obliterated. At that time, the 60-meter dash wasn't even a part of that conversation. And now, Grace Stark, a hurdler by trade, is leading the country at 7:12 in the 60. Grace Stark's a problem. Grace Stark
Big problem.
is on a trajectory that not only is she going to be wildly impressive indoor, not only does she have an opportunity to take out the 60-meter hurdle record indoors, but if she's going to sprint like this, she could be making a lot of noise come July.
Mm-hmm.
And like what she has going on right now is just extremely impressive. And, I guess if she had a better coach, she could be doing even better. So, it is what it
overcomes
is.
her coaching well. She does. She overcomes her coaching well. And I will say this about Miss Stark. Her idol in running is Miss Gail Deaver. So
Well, she on her way.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't make them like that.
No.
No,
they don't. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
There were some phenomenal things that happened this weekend.
So for me, some out of the pocket stuff. We have a new contender in the men's 400 from Iowa that I don't think a lot of people were thinking
Freshman.
about at the beginning of the year, right? Mr. McKeever from Iowa ran 45.78. That's a hell of a performance. And like I said, I root for underdogs. So whenever you get a new face to the party, I'm here for it.
And understand this, like, this is not something new. Iowa has been doing this for a while.
Yes.
Right? Like every year they come up with some guy you never heard of. And look, Joey, I am a Joey Woody fan as an athlete and as a human. And Joey's gonna have a hurdler, so it's just what he does. So big kudos to I don't know the young man that coached the 400. I apologize for not knowing his name, but he does a heck of a job for him too.
And I'm going to stay right there with the 400, knocking the Gators off the top of the podium right now. Colorado State Lauren Gale is leading the country, 51.64.
She's got the 800 too at 204.
Right.
Wow.
Which makes that extremely impressive.
Absolutely.
Yes, it does. Yeah. And then there was another Matthew Bowling sighting this weekend at 2027.
Yeah.
No big deal.
No big deal. Yeah. That's not fast. I mean, the CR is only 2019, then it's only January, right?
So it's another highly serviceable mark.
Is he going to petition the NCAA to turn the meet into a 4-day meet? So he can
My goodness.
That was
Just saying.
that was
you know?
well played.
And so, I think one of the questions that was asked was, what's the significance of the A&T #1 ranking? Where do we stand on that one?
I want to jump in there on that.
Yeah, because these are your guys,
say,
so you better jump all over this one.
I'll say simply put, addressing the question head on. What is the significance? The significance is that all the money on the planet is pumped through Power 5 programs, and bootstrapping out of the mud, whatever term you like to use. Like Dwayne Ross has taken NCA&T from whence it was. Look, let's be clear. When Spaceman was a head coach at NCA&T, they had jumpers that were national level, but that was their program. So they went from being
serviceable,
very good term, right? To being relevant, to being pertinent, right? Because where he's at now, like, you got a plan to beat them. Like they got a couple dudes in the 60. They got a couple dudes in the 60 hurdles. And when I say a couple dudes, I don't mean like 15th and 16th on the list. Like, they got a couple top 10 guys in the 60, a couple top 10 guys. Well, not yet, but it's coming. A couple top 10 guys in the 60 hurdles. They got the guy in the 400. They got the 1B currently in the 4x4. The
number 2 guy in the
story.
200.
The story of their demise in the 4x4 with the graduation of Trevor Stewart and yada yada. Yeah, no, they ain't going nowhere. And so at the end of the day, like, look, the head coach and staff are recruiting well, coaching well, preparing well. And so at the end of the day, like, they have winning traits. So what's relevant is that, like, whether you like him, dislike him, understand him, whatever, like, give Dwayne Ross his props, because he is coaching and managing his buns off.
That's well said. It's well said. The significance of it, that was the question, right? The significance of it is it's a well-earned, great look for A&T. And it should be respected. If you're a track nerd, as we are, and you really look at the rankings and the way that they are formulated, the only rankings that ultimately play out close to reality of what happens at the championship are the last rankings that come out once the indoor list is locked for qualification. Because in this, with how these rankings work, like, you get points for people, like, there's people down the list at like 65 and 70 that earn points for all their teams, right? So the way the regular season rankings work, it's not always the most accurate depiction of what's happening. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But if you're into the rankings every single year, pay the closest attention to the ones that come out right before nationals, because at that point they do away with all
of last year's marks go away.
Yes. Right. All of last year's marks go away.
There are none of last year's marks in this poll. None of them.
No, right. It's not about last year's marks. It's about, okay, so for example, if you're number 35 on the list in any event, you're not going to score points at nationals. But right now you get points in the ranking polls.
Right.
So
that's true. Yeah.
It's weird, right? It's interesting. And I get why the Alphabet Crew puts them out. So it's a great look for North Carolina A&T to be sitting there at number 1. But when the top 16 is locked and they only do the rankings based on who's going to be in the meet, that ranking is the closest depiction of what to expect at nationals. And the crazy thing is, if you look at where the A&T athletes are sitting right now, their top bullets, they might just end up being number 1 in that poll as well.
Exactly.
But right now, it's a great look and a well-earned look for A&T.
So I had to, of course, go back and check out the history, right? And I'm just focusing on indoors here. And, you know, it is extremely significant that North Carolina A&T is ranked #1. And whatever happens from here on out, like this is something that is truly an anomaly in our sport. In the past 30 years, 10 teams have won the national title indoors.
Right.
In the entire country, 10 teams have won the NCAA.
I love when the governor does deep dives.
Okay. So I'm going back in my head and I'm thinking about who have these anomalies been? And I'm talking about, let's take the Blue Bloods out of the picture, right? Sir Lucious, go down this path with me. Can you think of the last school, okay, that won an NCAA indoor title that in terms of resources, in terms of being that school, and you take
George Mason.
There we go. There we go. See this, man? See? 1996.
Yep.
Okay. That is how long it's been.
And I tell you why I remember that. That was my first NCAA meet with the University of Florida.
Really?
And I sat there and said, if George Mason can win the meet, why can't we?
There we go. There we go.
That's why I remember that.
And before that, and I'm talking about 30 years ago, you're talking about UTEP at the end of their
Big run,
domination,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and SMU.
That was going to be my guess. SMU would have been my guess.
SMU in 1983. Okay. So how hard is it if you're not fully funded? If you are not, if you're not in a situation where you can do things, right? You have ample resources. You can go out and recruit wherever you want. You can go out and do things with your team on a weekly basis that normal teams cannot. How do you do this? And so then I had to take a look at North Carolina A&T. And I honestly believe that North Carolina A&T is an anomaly in itself, okay? I've had this discussion with numerous coaches that work in North Carolina. And what do the blue blood schools in North Carolina focus on? What are they all fighting over right now?
Distance.
Distance run.
Distance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They are not trying to be the next sprint power. They're not. They're trying to they're trying to beat North Carolina State right now. Right? So what that says is the amount of sprint talent that is in North Carolina that people don't talk about, okay? If you're a sprinter, North Carolina A&T is it, right? Now, it's you've got to go out and find that talent. And God knows, I had no idea who Cambia Sturgis was, right? And that's obviously my recruiting tentacles, obviously, but I'm looking at this little young lady and I'm going, my goodness, so what did she run in high school? So if someone can fill me in, was she that good in high school?
No.
Mm-mm.
No.
Okay. So obviously, kudos.
Cambria Sturgis. Kayla White's from Miami, Florida.
I was gonna say, Kayla White.
She was a hurdler. I think she was like a 13.8 hurdler in high school.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Maybe 13.7, but she wasn't like
someone knew there was something there, right? And that's recruiting 101, 102 right there, So again, kudos to
Big league has their finger up. Watch out.
What's that?
So when Cambria was 15, 16, recorded on athletic.net,
Mm-hmm.
12.53.
What?
Mhm.
And then there's in 2015 outdoor, 1228, 2016 outdoor, 1171,
Mm.
17 outdoor, 1207, 8. So 18 outdoor, it looks like that's her.
Senior year?
She was able to compete.
Yes, senior
After.
year,
Yeah. So
Mhm.
her fastest quote unquote high school time, 1207. 1171 has an asterisk, so it's probably windy.
Yeah.
And then 25. She has a skewed 2665. The average is about 24 mid.
Yeah.
Crazy. You know, I just gotta say, I mean, like I said before, whatever happens from here on out, to achieve that ranking, and you know, some people might call it convoluted, some might call it, hey, this is just a bunch of numbers, but it's based on the talent that you have on your roster and where that talent stacks up with the rest of the country, right? So it's not, this is not, I don't think it's, you know, now who's scored what, I don't know. I don't know how all that works. But to get to this point, and we're still a month away, pretty good stuff. Now, do I think things are going to change, and I think that we're going to see a major explosion in the next 3 to 4 weeks, but kudos to North Carolina A&T.
Yeah, I think it's significant as well because obviously it puts a spotlight on them. It puts a spot on the hard work, and see, I've had the pleasure of being at 2 meets with them this year, and they're good. And here's the thing: they got a chip on their shoulder, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, we're the HBCU. Nobody respects us, and whether we respect them or not, they're gonna keep telling themselves that we don't. You know, and like, they come to win.
Yeah.
They show up to win, and they believe they're the best team in the country. And if someone's going to win the national championship, they're going to have to beat them. They are. They're that good. They're that good.
Taking us back to Track is Back, and this is definitely biased news. Dew did what he does, and Dew Mapaya opened up his triple jump efforts with the #1 ranking in the triple jump for indoor season. So it was a one and done. So it was a fun week to watch triple jump, male and female alike, seeing those two things happening.
Yeah, I'm gonna back you up with that one too, because lost in the whole, 1455, Latricia Hooper jumped 1410, broke her national record, and nobody knows.
I was just gonna say that, yeah.
Like, we're standing there at the
really quietly. You guys had 2 14-meter triple jumpers on the same team, not by ranking. Like, they did it in the meet.
Yeah.
And look, I am too lazy to do deep dives as the governor, but my brain's pretty good. I don't believe another collegiate team's ever done that.
2 14-meter jumpers?
2 14-meter female jumpers in the same meet? I don't think that's happened.
The beauty of it is, as it transpired, right? So Latricia comes down 1410. She comes over, she's talking to Nick. Chris Coleman from NC State's with me, and he goes, like, why is she jumping up and down? I'm not, like, she thinks there's more there. He goes, is that the school record? I'm like, no, the school record is 1411 by Giannis David.
Wow.
And I said, so she's number 2 for about another 30 seconds. He goes, why? It's like, Jasmine Moore's on the runway.
Yes, sir.
Look, I want to say this for statistical analysis for people to understand. Look, it's one thing for Jasmine Moore to break the collegiate record. It's a whole nother thing for this to happen. She competed in 5 jumps. She took a pass. 1 jump was a foul. The other 4 jumps were 1422 or further. Just let that wash over you.
That's right.
Right? Like, she's better at the triple jump than almost anybody is in NCAA's at anything.
That's right.
And
you know
I
what I'm
want to
saying?
give,
Like,
I want to give a shout out to, as Juice said on the Homer front, like Nick Peterson, man, that's 3 14-meter girls. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
Indeed.
Pretty
definitely.
damn impressive.
Indeed.
Yeah.
that is
And
above
I say
serviceable.
it is very above
Slightly above
serviceable.
serviceable.
And that's now Nick's second collegiate record, actually third, because I think Dindy had a collegiate record for maybe in the triple jump at some point, and still does have it. So, and then also Whitney Gibson had the collegiate record at TCU for a while in the long jump. So
Right.
shout out to Coach Little Jim, as I call him. Yeah.
So one of the events that I have my eye on this year, just because I'm a fan of it, and overall it's been improving pro level, collegiate level forever, is the women's 800. And of course, the unicorn is now gone. So it's a race again for the national championship.
Exactly.
And right now, the top 9 women in the country, all 204.
Yep.
So you can pick whoever the hell you want, but it's going to be a crazy race. And obviously it's just going to get better. We're literally halfway through indoor season right now.
See, and here's the caveat to this. I don't think the defending NCAA champion has run it yet.
No.
Leah Miller. And the third place from outdoors, I know hasn't run it. Gabby Wilkerson hasn't run it yet either. So there's 9 girls at 204 and 2 girls that have run 201 or better have not run the event yet.
Right. It's just a crazy race that, you know, Mo's out and who the hell knows what's going to happen. That's going to be one of the more fun races to watch.
And then in my true biases, real quick, the top 2 marks in the pent and the hep were set last week. Aiden Owens set the top collegiate mark and his country's mark as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And the number 2 mark in collegiate history.
Yeah. And then
Mr. Owens did so wearing what jersey?
Arkansas.
Shout out to the portal.
Absolutely.
Ouch.
Hey, look.
Ouch.
Hey, we need to leave that alone because all of us have benefited from the portal.
Absolutely. Shout out to the
Jasmine
portal.
Moore, Jasmine Moore is the portal. Yes. I'm
not taking any shots at any other events, but I will say this. It already takes more than 4,000 points to be top 16 in the pentathlon. Right? Like 4,000 points is a lot of points by a collegiate female. And it already takes more than 4,000 points to be in the meet.
It may take 4,100 to get to the meet this year.
I don't know that it'll take 4,100, but man, I'll tell you this right now. I would want to score 4,100 to feel comfortable about being in.
Yeah.
Because 40-90, you'd be like, the whole rest of the time.
Can you do me a favor?
Nope.
Don't you ever make that noise.
Event.
You can talk about the event. Just don't make that noise again, please.
That event has exploded. Like as an old combined eventer, I am super duper excited about what the women have decided to take off and do in the pentathlon.
And let's give credit to the men's long jumpers. There's some decent marks at Clemson this weekend. You know, Chris Coleman's crew getting it done in the long jump. That was pretty impressive.
And Homer for me, because I love the event. We all understand that the women's hurdles is always nutty, but I'm sorry.
It's outrageous.
I'm sorry. 786, 786, 789, 790.
Right.
And, shout out to Miss Armstrong from LSU for joining the 786 party.
Yeah, we need to apologize to her because we were talking about the event. We didn't mention her, so she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna make y'all say my name, right?" So.
Hey, look, man, I mean, so by the time conferences are done, the top 10 is gonna all be 7/8s? Like, what is going on right now?
Yeah,
I mean,
I think like what 8-12 or 8-13 or something like that is 16th right now.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, 809 is number 10.
Exactly. Exactly. Right.
I know.
And
See,
some of those
you got a
girls,
girl on
you
your
know
team
they're
that
gonna
runs
keep
that
getting
runs eight and teens, and you're like, that's serviceable.
Yeah. Oh no, this was said in practice today. If you can't run 8:10, you might not make the SEC final nor the
my
NCAA
gosh.
meet.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just
yeah.
At the first meet we went to in Clemson, young lady, freshman ran 8:25. That's a very good time for a freshman in her opener in college. She couldn't get out of the first round.
right.
It took 8:18 to make the final.
Of a regular meet.
Yeah, of the season opener.
Right.
Yeah. The women's, and we talked about that. I believe that when you get all those young ladies at the same place in Birmingham, when they don't have to run up the bank,
Yeah.
Right.
fireworks, absolute fireworks. It's gonna be fun.
Man. We're only
I
halfway.
wanna
We're,
know-
we're this still. We're not.
Yeah,
this
yeah,
yet.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
know,
there were some fireworks in the men's 4x4 this weekend, right? So let's
that
talk about
you
that
took
elephant
those
in the
words out
room.
my- Yeah.
Randolph Ross 44-13.
Yeah.
Breathtaking. I was there.
Wow.
It was like breathtaking. That young man is a huge problem. And and then Georgia goes and runs 304, pretty much by themselves.
Well, okay. So if you watch the Georgia video and you juxtapose it to last year, right? Because they had Godwin last year and they had Bowling last year, but now with the addition of Bryce McCray, they have another legitimate leg that Bowling's going to be way out front because that's the way they run it right now, right? So now they're not just surrendering from first to fifth and having to wait for Godwin to get on the track. Like Georgia's kind of a problem with that lineup right now. And Bryce McCray did his job well.
He did. I still think that USC is an outlier. Johnny Blockbarger doesn't seem to be in shape yet because remember he got the stick with Godwin.
He did.
And here's the, let's call this, I don't disrespect anybody, but maybe call it the jet factor. Did anybody notice who the two middle legs were for USC?
Oh, it's the short sprint crew.
Exactly.
It's the short sprint crew.
Exactly. It was Devontae Burnett and it was Shaquille Sanders' brother. I can't ever think of his name. Keshawn James, Florida State transfer.
Yep.
Hey, shout out to the portal.
I wasn't being funny. Like
I know you were. Yeah.
The portal.
Shout out to
the portal is dominating the season.
Yeah.
Horrible. It's
And
not
it shall
horrible.
continue.
It's
Yeah. It shall
oh
continue.
man. Well, I'm sure we missed a couple or a few of track is backs, but we will continue to highlight as I'm going to call it ascend to the top of the mountain of the indoor season, but we'll see.
Yeah, because you know what's about to happen. See, we're here, and then it's getting ready for a conference, right?
Mhm.
And then the bottom falls out.
Yeah.
It's just the
Literally.
bottom falls out. And
it's like that video of the roller coaster that's going down like this.
Yeah, right. It's full speed. People are screaming, holding on for dear life because it's coming.
Mhm.
It's coming.
Man.
I mean, if you are a track and field fan, I'm not sure where you're planning to be 3 weekends from now, but find you a conference meeting. If you can't go, find the live feed because there's going to be a lot of good track and field.
Absolutely.
A lot of good. I mean, if you like the Big Ten is doing what it always does. It's just kind of piecemeal and stuff. You get a good performance here, and every battle's running well.
Yes.
Kudos to her coming off a long summer. So the Big Ten's doing what they're doing. Iowa's doing their thing, and Michigan's doing their thing. The Big Ten's going to show up and do some things they always do up at the Spire. The SEC is going to be down, and Texas A&M. I think the ACC is at Clemson this year or Virginia Tech, one of those. Yeah, so it's going to be some hot meets out there, man. And the Pac-12 will go to their all-comers meet and do what they do. So.
Well, so the
Are they going to Spokane though?
No. So the Pac-12.
Oh yeah.
The Pac-12 has made some changes. So
okay,
the Pac-12 for who knows how long doesn't have a conference meet, right? They've been a part of the MPSF. Well, that is no longer the case. The Pac-12 is broken off, and they're going to hold their own individual meet. I'm not sure it's being called a Pac-12 championship, but they're no longer going to do the MPSF thing. And that might make for some interesting drama the last, conference weekend of the season, depending on where the meet is. If it's at Spokane, fireworks.
It's gonna be
If
insane.
they have to hold it at UW, whatever. But the break off has happened, and I think moving forward, the Pac-12, whatever you call it, championship invitational at the end of the year is going to start to get a lot better and a lot more significant.
I stand corrected, and I apologize. I will never call it all-comers meet again.
Well, before that,
It was.
So winter championship.
Oh no, it
Yeah,
was a glorified last chance meet for sure.
Yeah.
Fugazi.
For sure.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. it was by definition Fugazi.
There we go again.
Oh man. All right. Well, before we tumble down that hill, Sir Lucious, you're in line for rapid fire.
Okay, and before I go on rapid fire, I would like to say, it was, I think a couple of days ago was National Women's in Sports Day.
Yes.
Right. And so I want to give kudos to, we celebrated 50 years of women's athletics here at the University of Florida. So I want to give kudos to all the past, present, and future young ladies who have shown that women can be beautiful and athletic at the same time. And I also want to give a shout out to Miss Caitlin Clark from Iowa, who was Jordan-esque in the month of January, averaging 30.4 points, 7.7 rebounds, 9.1 assists while playing 35 minutes a game.
She's the first person to have that stat line for a month in 27 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
Incredible. So kudos to Caitlin. Kudos to all the ladies out there. Proud of you guys. Keep grinding.
And she legitimately was making jumpers from the logo.
Yeah, exactly. She's incredible. But fire away. Big lead.
No, yeah. Well stated. Well stated. Girl in sport, women in sport day is always a good one to celebrate. So
Yes.
All right. We ready, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I'm ready.
All right. What was the last thing you crafted?
I'm 62 years old, and I promise you, last time I crafted something, I was in the third grade. So it's probably one of those little, pottery things we did, and it was all out of whack. Trust me, my wife and my son are very crafty, and that's the end of that.
What is the last app that you downloaded to your phone?
The new game Wordle.
You've succumbed. I haven't
so
succumbed
many
yet.
people are obsessed with that thing.
I haven't done it yet. I won't. What happened last that made you laugh out loud?
Oh, my manager, and I've got to let him see this. Alex Clyde is the pettiest guy on the planet. And
wait, what?
No, he is way pettier than than Clyde. Like, it's not even close.
Okay.
So we're in practice today, and it's kind of one of those things where you had to be there, right? So we have this manager. His name is Joey, and this Joey is very talkative. And then we have a hurdler named Joey. So I am talking to the hurdler, Joey, and I say, I need to see you and not hear you when you're going over the hurdles, right? So Alex comes over to me, he goes, so which Joey were you talking to, coach? So it just made me laugh out loud. Yeah, but that's just Alex. He's petty. He knew who I was talking to. Right?
That's funny.
So the next time you were here, like, I think, Clyde, you met Alex because he's kind of my right-hand man last year.
Yeah.
But Lamar, I'm gonna let you meet Alex because he is the pettiest human on the planet. So that's why we laughed about that for a long time at practice today. Because Joey, the manager, does like to talk a lot. He does.
All right. If you're making a quick gas station stop, what is the candy or snack that you must have?
Ooh. Oh, chew, you're killing me. Oh, it's the Hostess cupcakes. The
Oh,
yogurt.
ooh,
Okay.
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Interesting. All right, going with
Absolutely.
that thought, DoubleTree cookies, always or never?
Double what?
DoubleTree, the hotel DoubleTree, they give out cookies when you're here.
It depends on how serious I am about my diet at the time. I mean, if it's one of those times where I don't care, always.
Right.
Because those are like the funniest thing about the DoubleTree cookies was like my son's a lot like me who didn't like to try things, right? So we're sitting at a DoubleTree. He just like, no, daddy, no, mommy, I don't want a cookie. I don't want a cookie. So I don't know. I went someplace and came back and there's just a stack of cookies in the room. He tried one. He just went down and got them all. So
I love
he
it.
was the cookie monster. That was MJ. Yeah.
I love it. If you could have one conversation with a person who you haven't spoken with yet, who would that be?
Who I've never spoken to.
Correct.
I would love to have a conversation with President Barack Obama.
What movie have you watched 1,000,000 times and can watch at least about 20 more million times?
Oh man, Fences.
Huh.
Fences.
Okay.
Yeah, that's got some historical content to it for me. I'll have to share that off screen, but yeah,
Yeah.
Fences.
Got it.
I mean, literally, this true story. I promise you that Fences has watched me as many times as I've watched it. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
All right, gentlemen, questions for the sir.
You know what? I always go last when it comes to him, and there always seems to be this like buildup of drama because whatever. There isn't. I have a simple one for you that probably nobody sees coming. What show, if given the opportunity to binge watch, would you or do you binge watch that no one would know? Like they would, everybody would be surprised.
Because you know the answer to this, and that's why you asked me this question. And I'm gonna just fess up. It's the Golden Girls, bruh.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, that's not a bad choice at all. That's
No.
not a bad
Not
choice
at
at
all.
all.
Like, you don't understand something. Like, I could be flipping through looking for a football game. I see the Golden Girls, I stop and watch. And I've seen them all, right? I won't stop and watch for a few minutes. And he did that because he knew the answer to that. Because every time he says that,
Look,
I said it to him, he just cracks up.
Golden Girls was long ahead of its
Undercover,
time.
that show,
Well ahead of
exactly.
its time.
Undercover, that show is like, it needs to go in like a United States time capsule because
Yes,
the acting and the comedy were amazing in that show.
Absolutely.
I think secretly Sir Lucious had a crush on Betty White too.
Nah, probably Sophia. I mean, come on, let's be real.
Oh Lord.
Gentlemen.
All right. I don't know if this has been asked before. But I'm gonna ask you this. Jordan 1 or Jordan 3?
3.
3. Okay. Okay. All right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I say Jordan 4.
K-Swiss. K-Swiss.
Literally,
So we can
literally
hear you
nobody's
coming
talking.
a mile away.
Exactly.
As a Browns fan, are you happy for the Bengals?
See, so let this be clear. I'm a fan of all of Ohio, right? It's just the way it works. And so I am extremely happy for the Bengals. And I'm going to be rooting for them hard. I am disappointed that I'm no longer 20 or 25 years old when I could hung out in Cincinnati and party with those people because I know they partied hard, right? So, but am I more of a Brown fan than a Bengals fan? Yes, but I'm a fan of all of Ohio, and so I'm very, very proud and happy for the Bengals. Joe Burrow being an Ohio boy, leading the Bengals to the Super Bowl, I think is pretty cool too. So.
See, that just shows you that Ohioans are so much better people than New Yorkers. Because I'm telling you this right now, if the Jets make the Super Bowl, I literally will leave this planet.
I was just gonna say,
no danger of that.
There's no love.
You'll be around for a long time. Don't worry about
it. The Jets are
no
tanking.
Love for the other New York teams. I am a Yankee fan. If the Mets never win another game, it's okay with me.
Hey,
Jets are clearly tanking. If the Browns and the Bengals are playing, I'm rooting for the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I get asked this question all the time, like, am I an Ohio State fan or a Florida fan? Well, let's not be silly. I'm a fan of the paycheck always, right? so if Ohio State and Florida are playing, I'm rooting for Florida. But anybody else Ohio plays, I'm an Ohio State fan.
And that's what I'm saying. Like I appreciate about all of you Ohioans, because I'm telling you, as a New Yorker, like, look, you pick your squad, that's your tribe, and everybody else sucks. Look, I'm a Yankee fan and a Giants fan. I will never ever be happy for the Mets, no matter what they do, and I will never ever be happy for the Jets, no matter what they do. And honestly, I don't like the Nets or the Knicks.
Okay. I was just going to ask, so you're a Nets or a Knicks fan?
Listen, it's like
my
that
dad's
out west.
a Nets fan.
It's like that out west. Choose not going to be happy if the Raiders win.
Or the Rams.
See, this is what
definitely not the Rams.
Exactly.
This is what people don't understand about the old Southwest Conference. That's the kind of camaraderie we had. We were all in the state of Texas. So we hated each other going up against each other. But if there was a school in our conference that was getting ready to do things at the national meet, we were fully behind them, and that comes from when you have a conference that's completely in one state.
Yeah. Well, what's funny, the SEC has kind of adopted that too, though. Like, you talk to SEC coaches, they hate each other during the year.
Yes.
But they would definitely rather see a SEC school win than any other school. That's
absolutely
for sure.
So, never mind. I'm not even gonna take that. I'm not even gonna hit that.
Okay.
Ball.
So
go ahead.
We're gonna take that in all sports, not just football.
I'm not even gonna hit that softball. Go ahead.
There's nothing to hit. I mean, we're the best conference. We're the best conference. Let it go, man. Embrace it.
Clyde, I'm telling you this. I'm gonna explain this to you, okay? So I was at Missouri the year that they entered into the SEC. Okay. Uh-huh. I was in the room when the commissioner from the SEC walked into that room and basically sat in front of the entire athletic department and explained the rules. Okay. By the time, Clyde, let me tell you something. By the time he left that room, we were all just kind of holding our seats like, okay, all right, so this is what it is. I mean, it was like literally, here are the rules of Fight Club.
Okay. And here's the thing. Clyde knows, because Clyde has been in the war that is the SEC championship.
Yeah, and that's right. Yes, I
you
have
lived that.
Yes, I have. And listen, I am a proud outlier in this, because I'm telling you, as an SEC alumni, born and raised in California, nothing made less sense to me than sitting there acting as if I'm fitting a cheerlead for LSU because I'm a Gamecock. You lost your mind. No, there is no SEC fanboy having
hold on a second
me.
now. Like we're not rooting for anybody else now. Like,
sir, wait a minute, sir. Every single year in college football, it's SEC from teams that are awful.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to ride the coattails of Alabama. No.
I'm man enough to admit that, during the bowl season, I'm a root for the SEC team. Even sometimes we don't have a chance to win, I'm rooting for the SEC team,
right?
Because that's the home team, We
Nope.
support each other.
I'm like Chew. We ain't no good. I'm not rooting for the Raiders. Ain't no way in hell.
This thing can happen.
Look,
Can't do it.
I absolutely. My Giants were the hottest of all garbage in the NFL this year. And you know what? I didn't think it could get worse. And then we were involved with the Brian Flores scandal. Awesome. You know what? I still don't like the Jets.
And Flores is from Brooklyn, so that's just cold-blooded.
Bruh, listen to me. Brian Flores is from like 15 minutes from where I'm from. Brian Flores is from like where my dad like grew up.
Mhm.
It's so painful for this to be involving him. Like, anyway, the Giants, they gave themselves several black eyes this year.
All right. Well, Lamar, I am going to have you segue into our not heartbeat props, since this was your idea, sir. So please explain what we'll be doing.
She leaned on the EP card this week. First off, listen, this is by no means a replacement, so to speak, of heartbeat props, but in the spirit and the recognition of Black History Month, we felt compelled to try and have each one of us speak to either a Black history moment or a significant individual to us in Black history for each of the 4 shows this month. Heartbeat props will clearly return. We love all the people we give we give heartbeat props to, but this subject is a good one, and one that we can also lend some of our scholarly aptitude to. I guess as the EP, my hope is that we teach some folks a thing or two about African American history over the course of these next 4 weeks. Before we start, I will challenge our fan base to investigate someone that is not already famous that we'll say should be in African American history. Educate yourself on one person this month. So, yeah, we know Martin Luther King and Malcolm X were really, really important folks. We got that. There's a lot of other ones too.
So I'd like to go ahead. Can I start?
Yes.
So in the spirit of the landscape that we are dealing with right now, I decided to go back and find the first Black head coach in the NFL. And didn't take long. His name is Frederick Douglass Pollard Sr., otherwise known as Fritz Pollard, and Brown University graduate. Okay. Depending on which Google pops up, he's either 5'7" or 5'9". Okay.
Love that.
We'll go in the middle of calling 5'8".
He's 5'8".
Yeah, 5'8", right? Played for and Sir Lucious, you like this? Played for the Akron Pros. Yes. And won the first NFL championship in 1920. Okay.
That's cool.
Wow.
In 1921, the year after they won, he became the first African-American head coach / player. Okay. And in 1923, he became the first African-American quarterback. So you talk about someone I would have loved to have met. Dude, like how? Like you talk about like ticking the boxes, right? I mean, from Brown to being all of these things within a certain amount of years. I mean, unbelievable. Fritz Pollard, creating, Black history.
So first of all, I thought this was a great idea. And the first person that came to my mind when I heard that we were going to take this angle, we all, most people should be well aware of the story of Rosa Parks and the Montgomery bus boycott and all of that stuff. But not nearly enough people understand that I think it was 6 to 9 months before Rosa Parks ever happened, it was Claudette Colvin. A 15-year-old child was actually, timeline-wise, the person who rightfully could have and should have been the face of the Montgomery bus boycott. She did exactly what Rosa Parks did before Rosa Parks did it, and she was a 15-year-old teenager. There's a lot of context and nuance to her story. It would take me way too long to go through it here, but it's an amazing story about a child. And ultimately, you know, politics played into the decision to hold her story back and gave room for whatever it is that Rosa Parks and her fight ultimately became. But don't get it twisted. Well before Rosa Parks ever happened, there is Claudette Colvin, and I employ everybody who cares about these things to, you know, take 10 minutes and because it's all very, very easy to find, and read about her story, because it's an amazing story, and she has not gotten the credit, you know, for her stance that she ever really deserved. And that's one of my all-time favorite little known facts about Black history. 15-year-old Claudette Colvin.
I'm not sure I did this properly in the context of the question, EP. If I did, I apologize, and I'll do better next time. But this is what I prepared, so I'm gonna roll with it, and you can yell at me later. So I'm gonna talk about a guy that greatly influenced my life, because his fight, his struggle, his path allows me to sit in the chair that I sit in today. I'm going to highlight Mr. Ron Coleman, who was the first African-American track and field athlete at the University of Florida. I actually happen to know Ron. He's actually, you know, a friend of mine. But what Ron did when he broke the color barrier, coming in here as the only Black athlete on this campus at the time and doing the things that he did, has clearly led to me being able to be the first African-American head track and field coach here at the University of Florida. It's a great story. Ron was a 6-time SEC champion in the long jump and the triple jump. Incredible person. Just one of the greatest people I've ever been around in my life. And if you go and research his story, you hear about the ridicule he got from the other athletes, and some of the athletes, the Caucasian athletes that actually stood up for him and helped him get through this plight. It's a great story. So I wanted to highlight Ron, because if there's no Ron Coleman, there might not be a Mike Holloway sitting behind the desk that I sit behind now.
Listen, I think that is spot on in the context of we'll say the question I asked and the mission I posed, because I think the point to all this is that I hope we live in a world one day where there doesn't have to be a Black History Month, and where there doesn't have to be a Rooney Rule. There's just people who were famous and did awesome things in this country. And until we get to that, we have to ballyhoo people like that who are not as well known, but are incredibly important, right? Like, and so that I'll give you kudos for that, not any admonishment. Big League, what are you wanting to go, or do you want me to go?
I'll go. Lucy Stanton. Didn't know who she was or what her name meant until I looked it up. She was the first Black woman in America to graduate with a 4-year degree. Why it's even more significant, and that it actually made me had an aha, was it was from Oberlin College, which is close to where Tiana's from and is in the state of Ohio. So I thought that was really cool that happened there. Shout out to Ben, because that's where Ben's at. But yeah, I thought that was awesome. That's crazy to think that that's a first. But to think that that happened in 1850 is like, wow, there was definitely trying times for that to happen and to be accomplished with a 4-year path, you know? So I thought that was super cool. And I went for the super random because I wanted to learn something.
That's super awesome. I know, given what I said, my answer, my person is going to seem rather cliche, but it's why I chose him. At this point in time, I think I'm identified in this country as a junior college baseball guy, a track guy, and a lover of football. And anybody who really knows me knows that my first love was basketball, right? The only person that I could think of to do is the only person I know of that did all of those things. Fun fact, and very little known fact, Jackie Robinson's worst sport statistically that he played at UCLA, and let's be clear, he played for All-American in basketball, All-American in football, All-American in track, and baseball. Baseball was his worst statistical sport at UCLA. And for actually one of the years he played at UCLA, he had a batting average under 100. Like, he was awful.
Yikes.
But he was a JUCO bandit. He went to Pasadena Community College. He's on our junior college all-time starting 9 as the second baseman. But I just, look, there are people that shape your life that you never met. And for me, it's Jackie Robinson and Jesse Owens. And I'm not going to do Jesse Owens during this month because I think there's, you know, in this particular show, like, look, if you don't know all there is to know about Jesse Owens at this point, please stop watching. Go do something else. I mean, the man is our logo. Hello? But Jackie Robinson is so much more than the first African American to play Major League Baseball, because I mean, he was a decorated war hero. He has a college degree in the late 30s as a Black man, right? Like, there's so much more. He was a huge civil rights advocate. And I don't want to say that he's been trivialized into, oh, he's the first Black player to play in Major League Baseball. Like, yeah, look, that's groundbreaking and obviously incredibly relevant. But folks, I'm telling you this, for him to play baseball at Pasadena Community College in the late 30s, like, let's be clear, there was racism there, right? Like, Pasadena was not, it wasn't Berkeley. Let's be clear, right? And being at UCLA, I'm 100% sure wasn't easy. And so I think that Jackie Robinson, in a lot of ways, like, doesn't even get all of the credit that he's deserved, because, like, the guy was incredible at everything he did. And I mean, he's in the College Football Hall of Fame, which is just wild. And you know, people don't realize, because a lot of times, like, ages and context aren't brought up. Like, Jackie Robinson made his Major League debut at age 28. Like, he's in the Hall of Fame, and he could only play 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's so much that can be said about Jackie Robinson that isn't already, like, you know, highly publicized. That isn't the fact that he's the only person to have his number retired by every single major league team, which speaks to his impact to the game. And it's interesting too, is because a lot of times, like, people who are, the first to do something, that's what they get ballyhooed for. But like, Jackie Robinson was actually a great baseball player too, right? It wasn't just that he was the first one. Like, he was also a great baseball player. But he probably could have been an Olympian in track because he was like that kind of fast at one point. Based on the video I've seen, he for sure could have been an all-pro in football, because he definitely was the only dude running in full speed on all those videos I've seen. Look, as a combined eventer, I have a huge affinity for people who are experts at multiple things simultaneously. So for me, my first one was not obvious or low-hanging fruit, but I picked Jackie Robinson for all the things that people don't know and don't talk about him.
Well, cool. It'll be fun to learn more about people as we unravel this and grow this tree a little bit more. So thank you. Thanks for picking up this for us to do. But without further ado, we'll wrap up the show. It was with my full intention to have this for you Friday night for your bus rides and whatnot. We'll pray for we'll pray for the Wi-Fi on the phone or the Wi-Fi in the hotel. We will see what happens. Either way, fingers crossed, toes crossed. Other than that, everyone have a great weekend. If you're competing, fast, high, far, get it done. Have a great night. Travel safe. Bye, everyone.
See you.
When the lights come on, the road just get to running. When the lights come on, opponents smash the plumbing. Heard you like it warm, hot knife the butter. Truth pin them hard, knock them off that rebuttal. Tsunami, tidal wave to your puddle. Tough love, punch you in the arms, little brothers. Athletics, LLC, there's no others. Track and field's place, will appeal to go further. Hey, Wile E. Coyote, it's road runners. Feels like you know us, you've been with us the whole summer. If not for this quarantine, these four corners wouldn't be here, but we here, so start learning. You gotta earn your stripes, gotta get your scars. Show you how to fight, but show us who you are. You lack experience, but still you wanna talk. And who is actually talking to you? Circle's kinda small. Heads prevail when the backbone's strong. Gotta keep it coming, no, it won't last long. Pass and fail, then sell the sad song. And if you don't check yourself, then that's wrong. Just trying to give you the real that you asked for. So why you keep cutting us off to ask more? We put it in slow-mo, but you fast forward. Athletics, LLC, the task force.